Ladies and gentlemen, good morning. I am very glad to welcome you at the plenary session of the third Stalipan Forum. So our topic is the digital reset of the industry. I am your moderator, Daria Pichilova, Deputy Chief Editor of TASS. Let me introduce our speakers and guests. Thank you very much for being here. Dmitry Volvich, Deputy Head of the Taxation Service. Evgeny Dankchikov, Minister of the Moscow Government. Alexander Belokopytov, Deputy Head Chairman of the Central Bank. Also, we'll have our Zoom speakers, Gervais Pellissier, Deputy Director, Orange Group. Maxim Tadevasyan, General Director or Executive Director, Rambler. Dmitry Halin, Power MTS, Cloud and Digital Solutions. Gleb Pokatovich will speak on Zoom. Executive Director, First Deputy Head, Analytical Center. And our last speaker will talk on digital technologies. We'll discuss various segments of business. We'll talk about the COVID-19 pandemic influence, impact on the situation in the global economy. So we are live in all TASS sites and forums. So please join us. We'll have a lively and interesting discussion. So the last decade has shown that digital transformation has touched upon all our life spheres. And experts often say that the specific feature of the pandemic is that we have witnessed how it is manifesting itself in real-time format. No matter where we have been, we could see its impact from any region of our planet. No matter what we talk about, the Internet of Things or artificial intelligence, all this helped us to come through this very difficult time, because Internet solutions has helped businesses to retain their revenues, to retain jobs. And all of us understand that without Internet technologies, without entertainments, which were offered by Internet platforms, it would be a very difficult time without all this during the COVID pandemic. So now the time has come to make an analysis of our survival and to make plans for the future. Let's see a short video on the topic. Digital transformation of the companies and industries is a new reality, and we're getting accustomed to it. Internet is a great connector, and it opens doors to many rooms. Digital technologies have played an important role during the pandemic times to provide services, to keep jobs, to retain jobs and revenues, because employees managed to work in a digital format. Digital technologies enabled us to monitor and forecast the spread of the coronavirus, helped to retain business revenues, enabled workers to work in a remote format, to retain their incomes, and enable people to have access to state services, education, healthcare, etc., and to provide systemic decisions in all areas. Moreover, digital technologies have provided support to businesses and self-employed. We have received better outlooks, prospects, and opportunities. The state is creating the conditions for the development of businesses, of attracting investments and attracting foreign companies. So the digital competition can be won only by the strongest. And we, the state businesses, have seen a common objective to improve the quality of life and to create new technologies. So let's start our discussion. I think that the tax service and digitalization are actually synonyms. Everybody knows that we have heard about an incredible experience of online cash desks that have helped a lot. In the first 6 months of this year, the tax service, for the first time, was faced with an unprecedented task, not to collect taxes, but to distribute targeted financing for those who were entitled to receive government support. Dmitry, could you tell us about these transformation processes in your tax service? Dario, thank you very much for the floor, and thank you very much for your invitation. It's a very interesting panel format. Unfortunately, I do not come to GIMO quite often, though I'm responsible for the international agenda in the tax service. And I'm responsible for the exchange of international experience. And I know that the graduates of your university are making the important contribution into the improvement of quality of life in Russia. So thank you very much for your efforts, and thank you for your invitation once again. I'll show you a small presentation. The COVID pandemic and other crisis phenomena or aspects which started a little bit earlier have had a negative effect on the global economy and have aggravated or accelerated the process of digitalization. And they have shown that those who were the first to enter this environment have had advantages. And those who are a little bit slow, they have suffered more. So digital maturity is a very important factor in our times for the business, for government, for state administration bodies. So our service was confronted with the online monitoring of temperature. We had to do it on a daily basis. We monitored just the individual specific companies because we had to calculate who is entitled to the support, and we had to calculate the amounts of this support, and we had to implement it very quickly. By the early 2020, digitalization at the tax service was quite at a high level. We organized an exchange of information, personal candidates, individual cabinets, and a digital interaction among various players It was already in place, had been in place in January, February 2020, and all these tools helped us to make a positive, realistic analysis and forecast. You can see as an example the barometer or an indicator of digital maturity. In November, December 1920, we witnessed some negative phenomena and crisis manifestations as the drop of an oil price. And that showed that we had to get prepared for the crisis. And the tax service is making a huge effort to help the economy through taking out the shadowy economy into the legal economy. We are fighting against various forms of tax evasion, and so we monitored on a daily basis, on a daily format, the economic situation. You can see the drop by 30% of the economic growth GDP, and you can understand what negative effects were manifest or caused by the pandemic. But now we see that the situation is improving. The retail revenues are growing and have reached the pre-crisis level. So, and the rates of growth are quite good. So we can see that our measures of support provided to the economic agents were quite effective. Again, I'd like to show you an example of our monitoring. The incomes of individuals, April, May, were the most difficult months, and we were very quick to introduce anti-pandemic measures. And the result is quite good. The result at that time were quite bad. The incomes shrank, revenues shrank, but our measures were quite timely, and in June the results were quite good. And you can see that from 2 to 6 growth of VAT, and June, July, double-digit growth. Compared to the last year, it's even much higher. Of course, we expected a higher growth, but the pandemic impeded and ruined our plans. Nevertheless, the results of our efforts, measures were quite good. We can say that we are experiencing a phase of recovery. Now I'd like to answer the following question. How have we managed to reach this level of development, and how have we started, why have we started introducing digital technologies? Of course, not because of the pandemic. We have done it, we started doing it much earlier. First, we introduced personal computers. That was the first step. And public servants all have access to their computers, because without the computer processing of data, it's not possible to work efficiently. So we started to process and to collect databases And at that time, our leader, Mishustin, was responsible for this project, digitalization, and the tax service prepared for its digital growth. In 2015, we started a new global project, and we are developing now. When we have pulled together all our inspection bases into a single system. So 900 local bases were included into one base, so many hundreds of technological processes, business processes were automated. So we've made huge changes into the paper turnover. So through re-engineering, we raised our efficiency. And you can see our tax base, 165 million taxpayers, 131 million of property facilities. We have to publish a lot of reports, for example, 70 annual reports. And we provide indicators for a lot of purposes, for analysis, for making forecasts. All these data are open, and everybody can have access to them. And our data are in high demand. For example, in June, we made accessible a new resource of accounting reporting. So all accounts are published, and they can be downloaded, or just pay a symbolic pay and get access to a total database. So you see, time in a brief period of time, we've made huge advances, and people use our databases and make some applicable applications, and they improve the whole economic situation. Here you can see the federal instruments, tax instruments. I'm not going to speak in detail, but if you get interested, I can speak in greater detail, but all this information is in our site. SKNDS, automated system of VAT2, is our unique technology. We've studied the international experience. We know what's going on in the European Union and in some specific countries, for example, in Azerbaijan, Bulgaria. And so we made a decision to make electronic logs of sales and purchases, and also we calculate return declarations, and the system builds the connections or links between all counteragents. And after the declaration, the return is filed. In 5 days later, we have the whole chain of the creating of the value added. And we can see disruptions, we can see some artificial over-evaluation of price and so on. All this help us to detect violations, and now it can happen just in 5 days, while in the past it could take a year or even more. And we increased the tax rate last year, and the effect was less significant than this system, automated system of VAT collection. Now we detect less than 1.5% of dubious transactions, and it's a very good result. That's the result of the introduction of our system, and our international partners, foreign colleagues, are interested in this system. They also want to introduce it. And the second instrument is the online cash desk. This is online cash desk is shown on a slide. Yes, we have rather pressed for time because we have a lot of interesting topics to discuss today. Thank you very much. You've given a lot of you've touched upon a lot of issues to think about, to make an analysis. So Moscow is one of the world leaders in digital transformation of mega cities. And I would like to mention that in early August, we had a rating of digital transformation of mega cities or cities, and Moscow was risen by 5 positions. We are outstripping Dubai, Tokyo, because in our it's really an interesting thing, because we think that they are the leaders in this area. So digital technologies are the most developed in Moscow, and they helped a lot to survive, to go through the pandemic times during the lockdown. So, Evgeny Alexandrovich, could you talk about the steps you have taken to make Moscow urban space more comfortable for Moscow residents, for Moscow businesses? So, and if Moscow were not ready for the COVID-19 pandemic in terms of digitalization, what could it lead to?
Thank you very much, Daria, for a very interesting question. What could be? We don't know. We can only predict. But I'd like to say that investments to digitalization, which Moscow did for the last decades, now we can estimate it. We know, we can see the return, and in terms of social effects, in terms of economic effects, and build on this bridge from Dmitry report. So I would like to say that breakthroughs, what we've done in digitalization of all tax system and federal tax system. So it was significant impact and effect, and we use this information because we're users of the federal tax office's services. And for example, we could detect this address support, which we did in the economy and in businesses during pandemic time. And this data about the taxes, so as far as for the every organization, enterprises or private entrepreneur, these data give us opportunity to react effectively, fast and targeted, and to help and support people who are needed. And as far as for the recent years, what was done in Moscow, I would like to say several important projects. To my opinion, they are very important, and they're important for the digitalization of the city, for Muscovites. Such portals like Mos.ru, we make focus for the state services, for the electronic version of state services, and it proved its effectiveness. Today, 360 states services are totally digitalized, and we have 12 million registered users, and we process about 900 requests. So the next project, the active citizen. So every citizen can participate in the city development in any stage. And during this project, we have more than 150 millions on different citizens' opinion and more 400 million registered on our portal. The next portal is our city. So this helps the citizen to tell about the problems which he can face in his region, in the streets which he lives nearby, so he can participate and help or have advice about the problems he faces. So he's supported. The next project, Moscow Electronic School, one of the most important projects which helped during pandemic time to provide effective distant learning. So without this system, we couldn't reach that effectiveness. So today, it's very important in nowadays conditions. So million users, 200 million users for medical reports. So this Moscow big ecosystem, which includes many state informational systems, including accounting and branch systems. So this system includes more than 300 organizations of customers and about 900,000 suppliers. Every day, 200 contracts are made every day, which is very important factor during pandemic time to support economy, and particularly in Moscow. So I wouldn't say very detailed, but despite for the transport smart system, the video camera surveillance, the supporting system for the utilities, automated control and management of utilities, and very important factor which I believe played a big role during pandemic time, it's infrastructure, city infrastructure, which was created in Moscow, particularly thanks to telecommunication companies, and the role of those companies was important for the building this infrastructure. Wi-Fi. Today we have 190 points Wi-Fi of free access to Wi-Fi. There are parks, libraries, schools, public transport. Today, the spread of mobile internet. Probably we have the best distribution in the world, and 90% of Muscovites have access to internet. So this is one of the most available internet in the world, and also thanks to its low cost. What about our task in terms of digitalization in this period? First of all, what we needed to do is to ensure to provide for the citizens who were in this difficult situation, in the isolation, who had to sit home. So our task to provide maximum comfort for them, to provide elderlies and low social groups. We had to provide medicine, the first support aid, all the necessary needs for all who were ill and had treatment at home. So for us it was very important to provide them all necessary conditions to help them to recover. So the people who had to work during that time, for us it was very important to build all the environment and conditions to make it possible for them to go to work. And the second important task, it was the fighting with pandemic and to ensure continuous work of all the healthcare system. Of course, if we didn't have all those digital services and systems, of course, our healthcare system would experience much more burden, and probably we would had more difficulties, but we succeed due to digitalization in medical healthcare. So during this period, also it was modernized and improved the serious system for the economic support of the enterprises and industries. So the portal to support of entrepreneurs was modernized, Entrepreneur.ru, and it works now. When you input your personal data of the entrepreneur, you can get the new information, what type of measures and what type of support you can get and where, and you can apply your application. Also, the portal My Career, My Job was modernized and improved. So for those citizens who were in difficult situation, who lost their jobs, for them, it was a support to get help, probably get new online job. The system of purchase, as I already mentioned, it was continuous work of this system, like state contracts and realization of those contracts worked very precise, and it was one of the elements of support to support businesses and entrepreneurs. The state services who were digitalized, and we evaluated them, so everything was done in full scale, and it was very important for those citizens, for those people who needed the social support. It was important to provide for them all needs, and people who requested the subsidies for the utility bills, they were provided, or for example, the unemployment benefit. As far as for education, it was modernized, the system which provides the distant learning, and all students, all pupils who had to stay at home, they could get the distant learning, they could communicate with the teachers on Skype, Zoom, and also all the methodical materials, all the textbooks and books were sent them electronically. The system EMIAS, the medical policy system, it was actively developed, and the system was modernized and improved. So, and it had access to get medical services, and also the telemedicine was developed, and it was special application developed which helps the citizens staying at home could tell the conditions of health and could get the doctors respond what to do. Also, Moscow volunteer service. So it helped to provide maximum support using volunteers for the citizens, for the people, Muscovites who were in needs, and also elderly people, disabled people. So everybody who needed help and who couldn't leave at home, their homes, so even they could order the dog walkers. So the system of purchasing in Moscow during that period, it was actively involved, this service, and it helped for the self-employed people, because during that period a lot of self-employed people were registered and all transactions were done only electronically. So generally speaking, I would like to underline that that difficult period, from one hand, it showed that the information technology so can make our life easy in very many spheres, but on the other hand, it showed us a lot of things for improvement. So it showed us our targets, where to move to improve our life of comfortability. Thank you very much, Evgeny Alexandrovich. And you know, like building the bridge, from your speech, you just noticed the burden on the telecommunication companies, the responsibility for them, for the people's comfort life. And business during pandemic just go through very difficult and very interesting life. And particularly it was for the companies, which for the communication service. I would like to speak about Zoom for the French colleagues, and now give a floor Mr. Pellissier. So company Orange has fantastic experience to ensure communication people in the conditions, let's say, mass, for example, the football, world football, and during pandemic time, it was a burden at world level, and we had short time to change processes. And it's interesting for us how you managed to do this and what difficulties you meet. And company Orange works in the consumer markets in 26 countries. And we all know, we all understand that every country has its individual measures, restrictions, so governmental measures. And what about the management, how you manage to solve this issue in different countries? And we are glad to see you.
So, доброе утро всем. I'm very happy
Good morning to everybody.
To be with you, even if it is from far. And by the way, I think this exchange is exactly the demonstration on how technology can help in the pandemic with still the strong restriction we have on travel. By the way, my last long trip was to Moscow on 31st of January, and I've just been taking a plane to Spain since that date. So I guess, like many of you, we are still under restrictions. I guess you follow the situation in Paris, where we have all to wear a mask outside, including in such a meeting like the one you organized. So I think this COVID situation has been clearly something that has been a surprise for all of us in our day-to-day life, including the people leading companies, our colleagues from the public administration. And this is something that we have all been facing ourselves in our day-to-day life, which probably is a big difference with many of the crises we have been facing before. I'm thinking of the financial crisis of 2008. This was really something very tough, but I don't think each of us has been facing the crisis the same in his day-to-day life. What I can just say today is that, and I would like to thank Mr. Volvak and Mr. Danchikov for what they said, because one said digital maturity is key in the sense that at the time of the lockdown, either for public administration or for companies, we have observed that those who are ready, either in terms of tools, but also in terms of infrastructure. And in terms of infrastructure, I'm speaking about VPN, especially to manage the relationship within a company. Those who were ready have been able to migrate very quickly from the day there was no lockdown to the day of the lockdown, being able to ask their employees to stay home for those who were able to stay home. And if I just take the example of Orange, we have been able to put in a few days about 100,000 workers remote with the VPN connection. Just on the French territory, 56,000 workers were put on remote just from one day to the other. A few issues we had were issues with the quality of the laptop or things like that. But more important, what has happened more important, this is the quality of the infrastructure at home. And I see many companies now have to ask themselves whether their employees have a good connection at home. This is something that they didn't care about, I think, before. Maybe two other things we have drawn from this experience. Some jobs were not, we were thinking some jobs were very difficult to transfer at home or remote. I would just like to take two examples. Call centers. The tradition is that call centers are managed in groups of 20, 50 people all together. And this is a traditional organization. For me, this is, by the way, one of the last heritage or last legacy of the Taylorism in the modern organization, whereas in manufacturing has gone out of Taylorism. In these administrative jobs, we continue to be with a Taylorist mentality. So we were thinking we should keep those people together, but with the lockdown, it was impossible. And we have clearly discovered that, in fact, workers in call centers, in contact points were very able, but also very happy for most of them to work from home. And I think that's something that has drastically changed in the way we organize the future. Another point, for me, interesting in Orange, we have certain people who are managing the supervision center of the networks, so the quality of networks to work. And by the way, in one of our supervision centers, we had 2 COVID cases, so we were obliged to lock down the supervision center, and it has worked perfectly also remote. So again, and the same in banks, where many banks were considering that brokers and people in charge of these things shall not work remote, and in fact, it has worked perfectly. Now, let's say the counterpart of that is that we need to increase the security, because during this crisis, we have also faced many threats, many hacking attacks. They have drastically increased on hospitals, on clients, and this is probably something which is also a lesson from this crisis, is that if you want to improve the way we work that way, this is also by increasing drastically the cybersecurity of our networks and of our applications.
Thank you very much, Mr. Pellissier, for your participation, for having time to be here. I know that you have a very tight work schedule and now you have to leave us, but thank you very much for your participation, and we hope that you'll be able to come to Moscow.
With pleasure, with pleasure. I'm just here with in my apartment near the Eiffel Tower, but I would be very happy to be near Place Rouge next time.
Yes, we hope that your dream will come true. Thank you very much. Until you'll come to Place Rouge.
Thank you.
So let's get back to Russia, to Russian digital platforms, Sberbank Saving Bank.
Digital financing, not only services, and recently it had a lot of stories which is related to the sphere of information, retail. And actually, this ecosystem in this acute period of pandemic time helped to ensure the business for many companies, and it helped to create new markets. Alexander Sergeyevich, please tell us how you lived through this time and how you managed to realize those challenges. 1 million people, when you help 1 million people not to lose their businesses. Daria, thank you very much. And speaking about the fundamental part of Sberbank functioning 100% with any restrictions or limitations. And this is probably not the most interesting part of the question. I would like to speak about the second part, about agenda, about the tools which helped and could help. So traditionally, the successful entrepreneurs can be divided in 2 parts, proactive and reactive. The first, the innovator, and the second, fast people. So, and all people for these categories, we can remind the examples. And this period of these tough restrictions probably underlined for many people, for many entrepreneurs, that there is no time to wait. We need to run, we need to go ahead. And today, Dmitry, when he said today how the state was it was convenient to react not on the average indicator, but for the traditional retail and about the amount of entrepreneurs who came into the internet with cash desk online. And we can remember 4 years ago changes when it was the federal law. And today we are leader in this industry. The company Ivatorg, who produce online cash desks, so the leader of the operators. It's part of our group. And if before for this business we just look like on last tasks, like it's a meaning to automate something to improve processes, but during the pandemic time, the restriction time, it was like a bridge for the new opportunities. Offline, online concept wasn't ready to be realized for those who are out of those decisions. And this cash task online was like a bridge for these very effective solutions, how to make these references, trade good references, how to make this catalog of goods, and the same for the taxis companies, they were active players, and delivery goods. So this coordination of such business models helped for those reactive entrepreneurs who were looking the opportunities for the business growth. All those services helped them to react on the trends, to keep the business and even to improve business. And when we speak about when market recovering, or let's say the volume come back to the March indicators, it's always to speak of average data, because even if it's in average more or less good, there are always somebody who experienced difficult times. So the tools which we speak about helped the state support those who were in need, who needed this help and support, and to escape wrong actions. And this information, which we public openly, helped the entrepreneurs to adapt it quickly and find new products. And of course, it's not secret. People who were isolated to use that time effectively. Somebody paid attention to their health. Somebody spent time for education. So, and it were a lot of new opportunities. The amount of the entrepreneurs were growing in these particular spheres. Also, for our services, how they helped. For example, our traditional company, the business environment. So, it's like business platform. And a couple of years, together with Ministry of Economic Development, on the ground of business environment, we launched the service which help you when you have smartphone and biometric passport. You can register your business remotely and open bank account remotely. So there is no analog in the world, and it was only possible in that period. So, and it's a good opportunity for people who don't like to do the services offline, to go to the bank and register a bank account. So now we can do it remotely. Also, those entrepreneurs who are outside of Moscow, they can use the services. So, and also those who registered their businesses, they could have recommendations for experienced entrepreneurs, life hacks, and advice about new means, how to transform business model, how to find new customers, new markets, and it was a very popular service. Also, one of the popular company, so back office processes, outsourcing of accounts and legal support. So they needed service, I would say, most for advice, how to create, how to make the distant working of their employees properly. So, and all these communications, how to establish all the communication, security. So all these things which we didn't think before. And those companies like perimeter group, it was some kind of front advisors how to make it properly so they can consult. And, for example, Health, Сберздоровье or telemedicine, so had at that time great impact growth, and they get many requests for the symptoms, where to go, what to tell. So it was about more than 2.5 million people requested through telemedicine. So in comparing with the data 2 years ago, when telemedicine was at the low level, now we can say that there is gigantic numbers. So, and also business experience other difficulties. People were in stress, and not every person could overcome those psychological pressure. People needed psychological support, and companies also adapted quickly, and there were psychologists attracted who could provide psychological support and consultations, who could help people how to overcome those difficulties, how to adapt more comfortably, also not only for employees and for the companies. So, in other words, if there are two parts of the company and who are ready to adapt, who are ready to accept, so this period of the restrictions became some kind of boost of the services of the document circulation. So court consulting, one of the leader of operators, already mentioned it. So such companies, they reacted very fast. They started to provide digital signatures very fast. And it was available for all clients. It was free, and it was a real growth for the entrepreneurs. So, and a lot of things were done, and as a result we saw growth, and we saw a lot of people who were ready to be reactive and move. Company Работа.ру we already said that to take part of some citizens experienced difficulties and reduction of their income, and some already experienced even very bad things. They lost their jobs. But the company Работа.ру could adapt their services, and they could provide targeting job search engine. So for those people who live, they can find new job, somebody near their place of living. So it's some kind of targeted service, and we already seen a very high demand for such services, and already proved the possibility to work distantly, and it was possible to get access for more qualified market, job market, or low-paid market, because it's important for the region market. So again, this period of restrictions, this period of lockdown, on one hand, it was difficult for the economy, but it was very positive for the motivation, for the good changes. And so, and it's good that as soon as the motivation appeared, it will not disappear, it will stimulate it, it will be stimulated for the new evolution for the technologies. And also I would like to tell the bank traditionally is financial partner, and the measures of the state support and the credit program, 2% crediting, 0% for salaries, it had good demand, very popular, and let's say, so if the previous year Sberbank didn't invest a lot of effort, so now it would not possible to support all those businesses without critical changes. And technological, the bank was technologically ready to work distantly, even to provide credits. And today entrepreneurs, individual entrepreneurs, about 20% of all individual entrepreneurs can get credit loan distantly. from the bank. So and about 700,000 entrepreneurs, they already improved their loans. They could get this bank loan, not even going to the bank. They just can get it remotely. So about 200 billion rubles were provided through Sberbank, and platforms created together with the federal tax offices, which guaranteed the subsidiaries through any operator. It worked very well in terms, and it was automated and cooperation with tax offices, and it was fast approval, controlled, managed properly, and that's why all the participants had this win-win situation. So again, in general, I think in general words, I said what I wanted to say. I can't say all details. Thank you very much for you. And from my speech, it was very clear that Sberbank, it's a real ecosystem which can impact all the spheres of life. Thank you very much. Maxim Karenovich, I would like to ask you, Rambler is the largest company in the internet media and internet services. It's huge audience and media and entertainment and everything what was needed for people during pandemic time. So what changed inside? And of course, it's clear the audience has grown significantly, and I'm sure you experienced it. And it would be very difficult if you tell us about the services, the stories, which were very popular. And I would like to tell that I was surprised how fast you managed to create a service who could generate SMS for the digital access. Yes, we were first. And it was example when you just understood the reality, you made decision fast, and you realized it. Yes, it was not a commercial story. It was about the desire of programmers to help people to make this digital access. We just did it at one night. So, and it was ready by the morning, 6 o'clock in the morning, and it was arranged as a service. And first of all, I would like to tell you thank you for the invitation. For me, it's very important. It's a big pleasure for me because 17 years ago, I graduated from this institute. And in the morning today, when I saw new students, I really am happy to see them because it's good memories for me. As far as for the group, as for the company, yes. As far if answering the question about the free time of person, our opportunities, today we covered 65 million people, and during coronavirus time, we reached 75 million people in this huge audience, even comparing with the population of the country. And yes, we have 32 media projects in our group, online cinema Oka, and we're the biggest online entertainment company in terms of creating and distribution of the content. And of course, when you're closed at home, it's very difficult to find what to do being at home. And we saw this burden, and even we had requests to reduce channels in terms of the internet in order not to provide additional burden services, because during a peak average per day, it was 13 million people, but suddenly it was increased 3 times. And of course, it's a huge impact on the servers and data center. And for me, it was, from the beginning, it was like a difficult time. I worried about the operational business on people because it was targeted for the operational business model. And even if all the processes online, it's still operating business model. But I would tell you that we worried only 1 week, And then we realized it's possible to work online because everyone has problem at computer at home. Even those who didn't have, we provided the computer for homework. And because we're distributing huge content, video, HD, Ultra HD, and of course it was needed some kind of development of infrastructure to make our company work remotely. But today I can tell that we're ready to work online. So as far as will it be all the time online working or not, I can tell there are some risks. So, and it's not because I want all people to see at office 8 o'clock in the morning. No. I think the remote working, it can become like a hybrid model. For example, like 2-3 days per week, you can be at office having meetings because people are social creators and they need to be in socializing, to support each other, to speak, to communicate. And some days can be as work from home when you have routine. But being a team, being a part of team, it's very important for business, especially business which consists of people, like in our business, because we have only people in our business, people who create these products. And now we have this hybrid model when people part-time working in office and part-time they work from home. So as far as for the product media business, it has grown significantly, and we didn't expect that huge growth. So I remember the 17th day of coronavirus. Why I remember this day? Because 24th we went to home and 17th. I remember the media project. So the total sum spent in time consuming this content, you can imagine how much content people consumed. So, and it came from our resources, it came from the federal channels also. So, and after May holidays, so this like a period of time, May holidays, we could experience people leaving our services. So, and we can see the first was entertainment, online services, OKA, main official. It has increased significantly because all the entertainment went to the digital environment, and we were first in Russia who launched online translation of concert, you remember, and Zemfira and B2 concert. And it's a new model of consuming, because before everyone wanted to go to visit concert or party or club offline, in offline format, but we were first who built this new direction, translation online concert, because everything was closed. And the second direction, this is the ground of champion.com. We started to help trainers who did training sessions in sport clubs. So these people, these trainers lost their jobs, and we gave them opportunity to provide this resource. So it was not commercial project for us, it was like optional project. So, and we offered people to find training for them and to make online trainings. And for us, it was some kind of experience. We just seated to think one night and then created this service. And what we can see today, it will be a basis for the commercial project, because now we understand from the audience, 65 million people we can find, and registered professional trainers, who are business people, who are entrepreneurs, they can find the audience, the customers for their service, which is very important for both. And as far as for the cinema business, it's vulnerable and it was impacted badly. Today we are the biggest operator of selling cinema tickets in Russia. And as far as for the cinema, So we had 70% online sales for cinemas. And of course, all the cinemas were closed. And this director didn't bring us any revenue for the second quarter because all the cinemas were closed. And what we did, we just built a process to go to any cinema without any contact. Today we have 2,000 cinema halls, or even more. 2,000 cinemas we have, and we built all the process from the buying from home, when person at home, up to the latest final moment to go into the hall. So to make this process without any context, when you don't need to pass any money to buy something, so everything you buy online, even Coca-Cola, cinema ticket, everything you need to buy and arrange for yourself online, and then only go to the cinema. So this is new service, and it will be implemented with the cinema opening, and we will improve those services. As far as Oka has grown significantly too, and it's obvious. And in order to be competitive in this environment, you need to be some kind of exclusive company. That's why we started to create new translation online. For example, theater visit. Theater visit now can be done through Oka company. So museum visits, the same. And we digitalized the standard pattern of this service entertainment. As far as for business, was it impact on us negatively? As far in terms of income, in terms of revenue, yes, it was impact because media business now it worked on the commercial model advertisement, and that's why, of course, we lost in some spheres, but starting from August, it was a huge jump from the industries, because people who produce goods, they need to promote their products and goods. And advertisement, again, getting their momentous. And we have some quota for us inside in order to promote small and medium businesses, to give opportunities for them to provide promotion for them, because we depend on each other. So, again, everything for the tickets, sales, we suffered a lot, but as far as for the content production, cinema online, offline, we experience big growth, and for us it's very important to keep this dynamic. And now we work on to improve, to increase our investments in the content development, who will be distributed on media resources, online video platforms. So that's what we do now. What we've done, we spent a lot of time on the cinema model. We understood that cinema wouldn't be opened up to the end of the pandemic, and we refused not necessary things, but we didn't reduce people. We just analyzed the processes, and we spoke with shareholders, Alexander, for the next year, as far as for the business model to create new opportunities. So, of course, we didn't cry. We just sit and think what to do next. And now, being opened today, so we opened from the middle of August, now we understand how to develop our business for the nearest 4 years. So this is my short report. Thank you very much. Very positive report. And thank you very much that you said and that you answered my question, what you will do. You already answered, your strategy. I would like to speak with Dmitry Alexandrovich Halin, company MTS, one of the pioneers of digitalization. We all are here pioneers. And during pandemic time,
So during the pandemics, your company's services enabled many businesses to switch over to a remote format. And you also helped to provide remote services to our citizens. I'd like to hear your view, your vision, because you know the situation from the inside. You know what was going on when people are going remote. Daria, thank you very much. First of all, I'd like to thank you for the invitation. Both the forum, the GIMOR site is one of the major fora in this area. I know that the GIMOR University has a program on artificial intelligence at the master degree level, and I know that it's a very strong signal. That means that this issue should be discussed not only at the level of the expert community, but also with the government and other businesses. So this pandemic shows how businesses have managed to survive, what were the instruments, tools of survival. I'd like to show you my experience, because we are an organization of our continuous operation. We have not stopped our operations during the COVID pandemic. We solved several tasks. First, we have more than 70 million subscribers, and we have witnessed a dramatic change of the traffic distribution, and we have to solve this problem. The second task is to expand a range of services, to introduce new applications on contents, on media services, concerts, B2, Chive, etc. Telemedicine. Together with MedSip company, we have managed to organize online consultations free of charge, and people could meet doctors online without leaving their homes. And the third one, we were on the front line in solving various thorny problems for our clients who were switching over to remote, and they had to change, to transform their business models, as many of the employees stayed home, were locked down. As you know, and Alexander said, there are two types of businessmen, reactive and proactive. And those companies who had a high level of digitalization, they are proactive, more advanced, and they have won in this situation because they have had a very quick response. So, and we've learned some lessons. And another important issue is to retain our personnel. We have more than 30,000 employees, and they were switched over to remote, and we did not lose any employees. So, and again, I'm for the hybrid model of future work, digitalization, remote, and office work. If we talk about challenges we've been faced with, first of all, I'd like to say that, though it has been mentioned many times, and the innovative technologies helped those companies who used them before the pandemics. So we saw a higher demand for remote, and that helped those companies who had already used this format, and they just expanded their solutions in this area. So in a business format, it's important not only to provide business channels, but also to improve and enhance security. Another important issue is the need to expand their client networks, their couriers, because the number of orders has dramatically soared. And we offered solutions that help to improve delivery services, how to distribute delivery personnel, how to improve their logistics. And digital solutions were of great help there, and the efficiency rose dramatically, both efficiency and energy saving. Another important area is real estate utilities. 15% of Moscow residents left Moscow, and most of them some of them were outside Moscow, and the remaining percentage of people stayed home. And who won? Those companies who had smart devices and applications, because it helped to pay for the utilities, and there were no disruptions. These are just some specific, simple examples that they illustrate how the business operated, has operated, and is operating now. As far as future is concerned, I don't think we have to get ready for a next round of the pandemic. But I think that all these examples have shown that it's a good thing to continue our business as usual, because it improves efficiency. And I can see only positive aspects here. We have just changed our mindset, and such categories of growing areas are cloud solutions. Any company, depending on its size, has its own data center or server room. And some of them just moved to smaller offices because they didn't want to pay for for greater areas of office, because they had to survive. And if they moved to smaller offices, they had to resort to clouds. They changed their infrastructures. And cloud solutions is a good adaptive tool. So many companies were ready to get adapted, readjusted to the new conditions. About 20-30 companies said that we're not going to have a server room. They said that because we would use extra space as a fitness room. So you see, it's just it shows that companies were able to adapt, to show flexibility. And online order service has also grown, has actually doubled, and it was impossible to provide services at such a level with those servers that were prior to pandemic. So the company started to introduce cloud solutions because it's elastic, it's flexible, it can serve during Black Fridays at night and in other cases. So we see that the mindset is changing, the business is becoming more courageous, and I think that the cloud solutions, the demand for cloud solutions will grow. and we just call on the businessmen to take these changes into account. Industry 4.0, smartification of industry, the usage of artificial intelligence, of devices, measurement units, digital solutions. All these things have always been in demand, and our pioneers are industry captains, and we as a telecom help to provide infrastructure. We are the first to receive the 5G license, and we are introducing these new technologies into the industry. We help to do it to our businesses and industries. There are many scenarios: digital twin, artificial intelligence, remote control, industrial messenger. The more you have systems that can be controlled remotely, the less employees can stay in the office, and it helps. And real estate. Here we can show you a concept of a building that all-inclusive buildings. It's a house, a ship. It has everything needed for life. In order to avoid excessive flows. It's also, such buildings are on the agenda of the future. People can stay inside and to receive all the required services. It's one of the promising areas of development, not only in a stressful situation during the times of pandemic, but also just it shows that the level of life, quality of life is improving if we build such buildings. And architects, conceptual architects, work together with digital architects. So this building is a big computer, and it's provided with an extended network. It has a smart house elements and other infrastructure. And residents can manage their apartments, their premises, residential premises, and to deliver data. Such buildings will change the landscape of urban districts. It's just a good example that shows how technologies keep abreast of the times, in line with our wishes. We don't want to stay in traffic jams, to spend our time in traffic jams. We want to be able to work remotely. So I think we will develop these areas, and we will improve our quality of life together. Thank you very much. You said that if it were not for the pandemic, we would stay in the past. And now we've had a huge breakthrough because of the pandemic. Thank you very much for your presentations. We talked with the representatives of businesses, of the government, and now we would like to give floor to analysts, experts. Gleb Pokatovich, First Deputy Head of the Analytical Government Center. Gleb, could you tell us what digitalization measures were introduced because of the pandemic? Could you talk about advantages and disadvantages? Did it help to remove some red tape bottlenecks?
Thank you very much for question. It's quite difficult to detect the certain measures of digitalization because all the support which provided to business and population, so with that scale, with that intensity, wouldn't be possible without efforts, without work which was done by the companies, institutes, in terms of digitalization in previous years. So pandemic became such kind of impulse for this phased transmission because all the things were consolidated in one point, and what was done before plan with the plan and time. So it happened that we had to do this in the short time. For example, like federal tax offices of Russia, they already had been doing this for a long time, digitalization, and they were ready from the state part. For example, Ministry of Labor Pension Fund, they did great job for a very short period of time, and they became ready to provide support for people, for those who need it, and not only for people, but also for the economy. The state support which were given to the business and enterprises to survive, it wouldn't help if they didn't work. Base and fundamental laws. So, and what happened during the pandemic? People and business, they suddenly, let's say, detect, they can feel state, they can see government, and they requested help from them. And this some kind of cooperation happened, which I think didn't happen before. As far as, for example, I would like to mention the social measures support, because it has increased significantly the number of unemployed people. Of course, it's very negative effect of pandemic time, and it's negative indicator for the economy development. But on the other hand, it means that there is, let's say, in other words, so we just happened to see the reality. We happened to see the unemployed people, and they realized they need to have all necessary support and all the processes and mechanisms transmitted online. And suddenly we appeared that it can work, and it worked efficiently. So, and if you compare it with the previous time, unemployed people needed to go in offices, it was a lot of paperwork, it was a lot of procedures, and now it worked more efficiently, less paper, less bureaucracy, and the same, we can see business and people interaction. So it became more comfortable and reduced time of cooperation. So all those measures of support which were realized on the federal platform, they were provided actively, automatically through the site, through the websites, and all the measures with the bank system, because sometimes, let's say, it was some nuances with the rules and bank procedures, and colleagues from Sberbank, he already told us very clearly how Sberbank was ready and about the cooperation with Sberbank and the state. The level of this cooperation was at high level, and that's why the bank was ready to provide necessary online support. So, in the mass cases, people, let's say most the entrepreneurs, they understood they have a right to get this support. But it can happen that government probably don't know them or can't see them. For example, it was misleading with the main registry number or the business activity number. Some company couldn't get support. So, and again, those situations were taken into consideration, and it was reconsideration. and the new vulnerable industries were included into measures of support. So to sum it up, globally, the positive things are more. Of course, there are some economic losses, of course, there are some unhappiness, but the graphic which we've seen before, it's very indicative graphic. This turnover of cash task payment, it's very clear indicator of the current economic activity of people. So if people has demand, so particularly these measures of support being realized by portal of state service, of course, it was some small nuances, but it was removed very quickly, and we can see to know now at the level, we already reached the level of the before pandemic time. And statistics has shown that we dropped less than other countries in terms of economic situation, and we have quite positive forecast in economy. So globally, so it gives us as a plus measures. So which were these measures which were introduced are very positive to make more efficiently and comfortably. So I have the statistic example. The summary investment of the companies in the second quarter in IT sphere has increased 13% annually, and this is quite a sharp growth for the investment. So, and most of the company invested, which is not about IT sphere, and at the same time, the demand of IT consulting reduced. So the company has the same impulse for the digital transformation, like the state experienced the same impulse. So, and they together started to develop all digital services. So as far as for the state, it was the same story. So the growth as expenses were much more significantly. And this is one of the factors that helped to ensure the functioning of infrastructure and services, even for some problems were happened. Thank you very much, Gleb Gennadievich, for your assessment, for your opinion, because you gave to me such a great bridge. Sergei Yurievich Nakvasin, our next speaker on digital economy. I would like to ask you to speak about the following things. So colleagues and I, we just spoke about the past, nearest past, but now we would like to speak about the nearest future. Pandemic has shown to all of us so that it's necessary to have this social distancing, and we have it now, it probably it will be in the future, and as a result, we need services, we need platforms which will provide for people this social distancing. So we started to think about the development of such platforms, the development of such applications. And in Russia, digital economy is one of the important part of these processes. Please tell us about your expectations, about your ideas, about the future developers and what is going on now. Daria, thank you very much. And I think future becomes from the past. So, and to speak about what I mean, first of all, I would like to tell thank you Oleg Gennadievich, because he just told us about the state support for this social part and for businesses, which is important for economy. But also I would like to tell about the government role, the state role, in terms of technological readiness. So, and all speakers I heard told, yes, we met difficulties, but we already had solution, or, for example, the solution was ready much in the past, and that's why we were ready to use it. So that's what I mean when the future became from the past. So So 20 years ago, I think, so we didn't have even 1% of today's technological solutions. And since that time up to now, all businesses and the state, I think, they have done hundreds of billions investments, I mean in rubles, in these digital solutions. And during this time, it was couple, like it was thousands of digital projects supported to create digital technologies. Some projects gave an impulse for the new solutions, and even in 2019, in the national program Digital Economy, it was 306 projects in the digital development. So it's quite a big amount, and it's quite a big government support. So, because those projects were launched with the state support, and it was included and small companies and big businesses. Some companies which were mentioned today, I will not repeat them again. These companies got this support from the government, and they created new digital solutions. And honestly speaking, after 10th of March, when it was like a peak of pandemic, I started to worry that probably this state support could be over or will become weaker because it was new, more important programs, social programs like to support people, children, small businesses. So, because I've got particularly the social support from the government as a father of two children, thank you very much for my government. But as far as for today, it's clear, but as far as for tomorrow, these issues can be solved only due to these technological investments. And we all understand that we need solutions now. And what I can tell, so the development will not stop this year because it's already proved the state support for the digital technologies, for the artificial intelligence, for this year also. And also we expect this year, so 2,500 projects will be supported by the state through our fund Skolkovo and innovation support. It was very interesting support as a project. One customer will get subsidies for the first implementation. So let's say, for example, MTS company provides new solution, and some industrial enterprise which never before implemented that solution, they can get it, but of course there is technological risks that, for example, this solution will not be effective. So, and in order to decrease these risks, so the government has this approbation, subsidies, and the developer company has some kind of liabilities of the scaling for the in terms of the other business economies. So as far as the priorities, before, so in terms of national project digital economy, we paid attention for the range of digital economies. We all know this robotics, artificial intelligence, new communication, internet technology, Internet of Things. There are 11 of them totally. But today, given the priorities and situation, we have selected the preferences. So such project with the effectiveness of the distant working places, availability of online education, online employment, online service, the diagnostic and medical help. So these priorities, which is related to this social distancing. Today we plan to support 250 projects. Just to understand what project we mean, just tell you that in the beginning of March, so we had requests, we had such kind of questions like, so you supported before different programs. Could you please ask to show the catalog, the list? And that's why by the end of March, together with the Ministry of Communication and our administration, we launched portal. The name of this portal, Все Online, all online, where all the leaders of digital economy provided their solutions. So they provided a solution in order to increase the availability of those services. So, and it's from small startups and from giant companies, Rambler, MTS, so and other companies. So that's why we can see which projects already exist, which will be developed further. So thank you very much. Of course, we all hope for the better, but we should be ready for the worst, of course. And we have some time, and I planned to do a small blitz, and I would like to ask every of you about the question how you build priority of your development in the nearest future. But as I understood, every one of you already have answered these questions, but I still use my opportunity and ask you one small question. Among our audience, so most of our audience, entrepreneurs, young people, students, so these people will continue develop, build and change our country. And you are all successful people, top managers. And of course, you already think about that, about the conclusions which you made from this pandemic. Of course, you all detected the skill and your knowledge. So what would you recommend? Which type of skill to develop, which knowledge to develop in order to be successful in this new reality? Could you give us this advice? What to do tomorrow? What to do tomorrow? The skill, the knowledge for tomorrow. So on what you need to focus? Okay, if it's please question, then probably it's I give you my advice. So this experience of this latest, so being on this intensive work, digitalization, so just interaction of the state and the businesses, I think it's very important skill and quality which we need to develop humanity. I think the driver of everything happened. I mean, those services, support, help, it was not taxes, not economy, not business, because all the leaders of the tax offices, of the state people, they were 24 hours all day long. They were on place, working, coordinated, managed, distant learning, non-stop distant learning. So, and I think the main driving force to make decision in this tough time, it was desire to help. It was desire to help to anyone, to people probably you don't know, probably you never see these people again, but the desire and to be ready to help everyone, citizens, people who live with you in this country. So to do everything you can do. Of course, you can use technology, intelligence, solutions, whatever. But the humanity quality, this will help us to survive, and this will help us to develop in the future. So be human and be successful. Evgeny Alexandrovich. Thank you. I would support Dmitry, of course. We think for people, first of all, of course, because this is the most important resource which we have in our country, not oil and gas. People comes first. And from my own experience, I would conclude that the most important for a person, it's a skill to be able to adapt in the difficult situation and to be ready to overcome any challenges. And this pandemic time, this self-isolation has shown us that very important skill and skill is a discipline, to be ready for the distant walk. So I would answer the following. So as far as for the advice, I would say soft skills, it's a human capital. So, and again, at the basis, drive people. People make solutions. People make decisions. And in this condition changes, fast-moving environment. So, for young entrepreneurs, I recommend keep your ambitions, increase your ambitions, be active, don't be angry for the fate, don't complain the circumstances, be ready, be active. And for example, if we look at the economically developed markets, the share of small businesses of GDP of the countries, so we can see that our country has huge, colossal potential as far as the modern technologies and cooperation with e-commerces in the access to online channel. And given these examples of Chinese market, we can see that huge amount of entrepreneurs. So, and we can see that our potential is even bigger. What does it mean? It means opportunities. If, for example, today's young entrepreneurs think what to do, there are huge opportunities in our country. And there are two factors which is very favorable for us. We already mentioned this. Russia is one of the countries which has higher share of internet access. We have access to communications. We have tools of business model development. We have devices in our hands. We are one of the developed countries with the active communications in the devices spheres. It means it's a huge demand for the consumers who are ready to make purchases. It means this is a share of business which will be through this transformation, will be bigger. So, and again, there are huge opportunities for new entrepreneurs. And the question is what we will do for support. I would say when Sberbank, for example, is in business of food service, taxi, medicine, delivery. Let's be realistic. This is industry, but business models is platform service. So where we unite consumer and provider. We're not producers of food. We are not producers of clothes. We just connect seller and buyer on the platform. So, and our mission is to increase number of window shop for our entrepreneurs in order to increase the demand and amount of consumer. So, and to get rid of these restrictions of the local markets. So that's why we see us as a partner for any business who would like to extend their models of distribution. So this is our strategic task. And the second, for any business is important, growth and decrease of the expenses in order to improve effectiveness. So that's why invest the services in order the entrepreneurs can improve business processes. So it's a complement to what we do today. Thank you. Maxim Karenovich, please tell us your advice. I can see a lot of young people in this room. That's why I would like to wish to continue to study. No one expected this COVID. No one expected to change all business processes. No one were ready to make new business models. And here we can see a lot of students. And I tell all MGIMO students, come to us, we cooperate a lot on these directions. We were ready to see you. And the next thing, be ready to change. Be fast to change. Be proactive. All of us need to continue to study every day. And we do this. And those successful who change themselves and who are ready to saturate new information and to introduce it into knowledge and in practice. So again, the most important skill, and it's very important for every university to provide this motivation and desire to study. So I think it's important. Dmitry Alexeyevich. Daria, if I select one skill, I'm for courage. So I think all the business leaders, especially young ones, need to take responsibility for digitalization of the process. It's not CTO, CIO, it's CEO. It's general director, president of the company, whatever, the person who is responsible for the digitalization. And we've already seen the example of experience. We've already seen that the level of digitalization can affect the results. So, for example, what to do, if to tell specifically what to do, on Monday, let's say, or on Friday, tomorrow, speak with your employees or experts. Ask them, do we have a roadmap for digitalization? Let's say cloud services. Let's say, guys, do we have a roadmap how to transmit our company to the cloud services? Let's say it takes us years, 1,000. But if it's lack of this map in your company, this is a big mistake. So, and for this is needed brave leaders. You should be brave. You need to build this roadmap of digitalization. Sergey Yurievich. Colleagues. So today, there are representatives of state and business, and I think we all need to develop such important quality as the readiness for partnership. What do I mean? I mean the digital solutions, so they can be duplicated. And I think it's okay, because some similar solutions can be in India, in Russia, in the USA. They're probably very similar to each other. And I can understand when in Russia two companies are very competitive to each other, and they think which is the iCloud service is better and to provide it client. But I think it's quite strange when the state starts duplicating services which are created in the businesses. Like we already spoke of Работа.ру, and it was the dialogue between services and employers and the state. I think it's quite strange when you public resources spent on these services, which can be used already on the mutual conditions, mutually beneficial conditions. So let's develop partnership. Thank you very much for a very interesting discussion. I particularly feel very inspired because we all understood that pandemic time, yes, it was difficult time, but it was a time to think, because it all makes us to think, to make conclusions in order to move further. Thank you very much. Good luck. Have a good day. Dear journalists, bloggers, correspondents, now we will have express press approach. We ask Evgeny Alexandrovich, Dmitry Valeryevich, Alexander Sergeyevich. So stay here on the scene near multimedia screen. everyone who has questions, please. In 2-3 minutes, we will be ready. Dear participants of Stolypin Forum, we invite you for the next discussions, which will be at 12:30. It will be in the Chateau number 1. It will happen on the development design, young engineers, new. It will be in the Chateau number 2, Power Acron, crowd investment. You know?